welcome back. All right, so today we have something really quite interesting to talk about. So this is something that Jade probably has a little bit more knowledge than myself, but it's really interesting because I'm just going to be start reading that book that we have right in front of here. But it's about Stoicism. So again, like I said, probably I'm going to let you just kind of explain a little bit of what it's about and stuff, and then we can talk about the stories and whatnot. But before we even begin on anything, we're just gonna maybe ding the bowl, clear the space a little bit.
Oh, you ready?
Yep. Yeah.
I love it.
That was really cool. Yeah.
I can breathe after, you know?
Yeah, no, it's really, really beautiful. Thank you for doing that.
Thank you for the bowl. Okay, so Stoicism?
Yeah.
Okay. I feel like we should explain why we thought it was a good idea to bring this up.
Yeah.
I think it's because we were talking about what were we talking about? We were talking about how some people are in conflict with themselves. They find that they're at constant opposition with how they think and stuff.
Yeah, it's about so actually, that's what it was. It was the goals, right? How to make. We all have this thing about goals and how to reach them, and we only think about that goal in the end, right? Which is really awesome. Obviously, it's the first way of manifestation, but with that, a lot of people, they struggle is the in-between from going from where they are now and reaching that goal. And when we were talking, it was trying to figure out how it was. So let's say for myself, I was reaching my specific goal. Actually, I'll give an example from somebody else. One that was really, really difficult. A person who was very goal oriented, only thinking about that, though the journey in between was always excruciating. It was just a struggle. And what's the word? It's not sacrificing, but almost like a self-sabotage in some ways. They'll do anything to get to that goal. So there was no happiness. There was no just joy in doing the adventure in order to get to that goal.
Yeah.
Because the goal itself is really awesome once you get there, but it's only for, let's just say, maybe a few minutes or a few hours or maybe a day, and then that's it. And then you're trying to look for a new goal again, right? So that was what we kind of were talking about, is how to make that in-between part, the journey, more enjoyable and stuff like that. And then you brought up the Stoicism.
Yeah, and and then the other thing that we were also talking about, which was the goal thing, but also how because I find I'm talking to a lot of people, and I think I've been like this in my life as well, but the fact that you feel constantly at opposition with yourself for the fact that you believe something but you also don't believe it. You like it but you don't like it. You would do it but you also wouldn't do it. And it's constantly with that. And one of the reasons why they say that you tend to be like that, very indecisive or not knowing about which direction or which you actually like or which you don't like, is because you don't have a good, not a good, but they say that you need to strengthen your virtues in life, or the things that you find, important in your life. And
your values, basically.
Yeah, exactly. And then with understanding that your own values about it, then it's easier to kind of navigate through your decisions about life. So that's the other thing too. So that's why I was like, oh my gosh, Stoicism is such a good representation of this. Because Stoicism is literally, for those that don't know, is basically a philosophy on how to live a better life, more meaningful life. They talk about, creating virtues and creating, having a good self-discipline to be able to achieve that. And basically kind of conquering the things in life that give us fear or give us a sense of, being scared, which can be, death, or certain things that could happen, like loss of a loved one, or really tragic things that could happen in our life. And it's just about creating ourselves as basically making ourselves into a good person that makes good choices, that's, you know, able to go through life, you know, and to do that you need to have those virtues and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So this is the book that I learned Stoicism from, and I wanted to bring it today because it's not like super crazy of like a read if you wanted to read like Marcus Aurelius, like Meditations, because that's a really long thing and it takes a lot of thinking and stuff. But this is like How to Be a Stoic by Massimo. How do you pronounce his last name?
It's Massimo Pugliucci. That's his name.
That's his name. Yeah, with the European accent. And it's because it's a really, really easy read, and it talks about a lot of like the simple stuff about philosophy and about Stoicism and why it's a great philosophy and why do so many people talk about it and why did it become so much popular in this like modern age again. Because there was a time where Stoicism became really big and then nobody did anything, but now everybody's all about Stoicism again.
I think because of all the imbalances there are in life right now.
True.
And everything going on right now,
yeah.
As much as in the outside, as much as in the inside for us type thing. It's I guess trying to figure out. We got in a way so much, like such a separation between ourselves and our soul, that this kind of helps to bring things back within you know, within ourselves. It's just relearning, you know, who we are.
Exactly.
And so recognizing what our values are and what's important for us, because my values are not going to be the same thing as yourself, right?
No.
And the no judgment part too. But yeah.
Oh yeah, exactly. And well, the really cool thing about Stoicism is that you can go as far into as you want to, or as much as like you don't want to, and there's a lot of balance and a lot of area for movement in it, for the fact that your virtues are going to change in life. And when you come to an area or a point in your life where, or just like a scenario where you're meet with having to stick to your virtue, but now you're like, do I actually want to stick to this virtue? Does this virtue work for me? It's like you go back to the fact that Stoicism is all about creating a better life and being a good person and creating more good in the world. And so then it comes to the fact that, you know, you can drop that virtue if you want. You can keep on with it if you think that's going to give you the better product at the end. And yeah, because we're humans, we're supposed to change. So yeah, so that's the really, oh my god, do we have comments? No, we have just people watching. Okay.
I don't know what to check. Yeah.
Oh, right, I was supposed to go on to here.
Oh, it's okay.
That's okay. But yeah, so
it's kind of like going with the flow of things, right? And it's also understanding, yes, you're going with the flow of things in the thought process that you are in at that moment. Though again, you hit that place where, okay, is it really meant for me, or do I try something else, you know, type thing. So yeah.
And then one of the really important things, and I think like the thing that people catch on the most, which we were like just talking about downstairs, is the fact that it also teaches us to not to have anxiety over the things that we can't control, to start to understand, you know, what we can control and what we can't control. And from Stoicism, what we can control, you know, putting away like manifestation, all that stuff, is really just like, well, I guess this could be part of it because your thoughts create your reality. But anyways, is the fact that the only things that you can control is your thoughts, and then from your thoughts are your actions. So if you can't control anything else in the world, you know, just being able to control those two things will take you a lot farther. And it's all about, you know, when somebody comes to you with like maybe anger towards you and stuff like that, you don't have to fall into that anger too, because you can't control their anger, but you can control your thoughts and how you perceive them, and you can control what actions you take after that. And by doing that, you can completely change, you know, a complete scenario, no matter what it is, for the better, really. And you know, 9 times out of 10, I find that if I do that, somebody's anger will go down towards me because I'm not feeding into it. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
And so then 9 times out of 10, the situation is a lot better than if I would have just taken the same stance that they did. Which is really just me being controlled by my physical world, by my outer world, and not having that lot of self-discipline inside of me, which then takes us to the other side of Stoicism, which is all about having that discipline for ourselves to have a better life, you know, about whether that discipline is to, you know, always get up in the morning and go about your day and live by nature and stuff like that. That's one of the cool things about Stoicism, is that it seems very strict in a sense. And it seems like, you know, Stoicism is all about putting your emotions to the side and all this stuff. But in reality, it's not. It's also like a philosophy that tries to teach you, and in a sense, it's very close to Buddhism in the fact that to live by nature. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And to move with nature and to do what nature does, and as that, you know, be able to move as ourselves as humans and in our society the same way that nature moves. So, you know, like going to bed when the bees go to bed and waking up when the bees get up, you know what I mean? And to go about your duties and everything, because in nature everything has a purpose, you know what I mean? So to live by nature, by the ways of nature, is to then, you know, understand that you also have a purpose.
Yeah.
And to go about your day is part of that purpose. Mm-hmm. So then it's that discipline too that I was talking about beforehand.
But you don't like inundate yourself with the purpose too at the same time, because some people are like so it becomes almost like an addiction to have to know what that purpose is. So I just want to say that's all before I cut you off or anything. Sorry.
Sure, but then that's when it comes through being like, is this creating more anxiety in your life? You know?
Exactly.
Yeah. That's the thing, is that you have to create that balance. You have to know when like too far is too far, and when not enough is not enough. Mm-hmm. And it's all about, you know, seeing how much you really like your life, to be honest. You know what I mean? If you don't like your life and the direction you're going, or if it's giving you too much anxiety and everything, just change in that present moment.
Yeah.
And that's kind of what it's all about. Because if one of your importance in your life is finding that purpose, but it's giving you so much anxiety, then it's like...
Yeah, it's not working.
It's not, yeah. That's the really cool thing. What's another cool thing about Stoicism that I was talking about? Oh, the fact that this is one thing that really hit me hard when I read this book, and it's all about, you know, like, it's part of that if you've heard the saying, like, playing ball with Socrates and stuff like that, and the ball is basically like a game, you know, throwing the ball or kicking the ball. It's like, think it's soccer. It's not really the ball that's important, which the ball would be life, but it's what you do with the ball that matters. And then this hits a different area of it, which I think is really cool, is that this is supposed to be something that you think about in your day-to-day life, and that you pursue, and that you try to be conscious of, about your virtues and everything to create a good life. But creating that pattern in your day-to-day life, when something really huge happens in your life, like losing a person or having to go through a really huge struggle that you never thought you'd have to go through, by doing this practice every day, you know, when you come to that point where that huge just ball, you know, comes in your life. I don't want to say ball, because then you're going to think that that's what the ball is when he's in the thing. A huge stump. When a huge stump comes your way, it's easier for you to go through that, you know what I mean? To persevere, whatever you want to call it, be able to go through it, because, you know, you can't control what happens to you in life, but you can control your response to it. And by practicing this every day, it's like practicing or using a muscle, you know what I mean? The more you use it, the more you strengthen it, the more it just seems effortless to do it. So then by doing that in an everyday life, when you come to those huge struggles, it's going to be easier. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Even if it's I'm not saying that the struggle's easy. The struggle's still going to be super hard. But did I explain that right? I hope I did.
Yes. No,
Sometimes I try to jump to the next thought, and I'm like, wait, I need them to understand what this thought was before, though.
No. It's you explained it well, unless somebody else says something. But no, to me, I understood. Yeah. So a lot of that too is understanding how to, again, I know we spoke about it before, but like being in the moment, right?
Yeah.
And yeah,
it seems like a kind of a nuisance in the beginning, being like, oh, well, now I have to think about every action that I do in the day and how it affects the world and all that stuff. But not really, because, again, creating that balance in your life, you know, between anxiety and actually creating a good life. And so, yeah.
Well, I would say this.
Yeah.
I understand what you mean by, I have to think about, but if your mind is it's already going 100 miles an hour.
Yeah.
And you're going in a way where it's like we were talking about this too last week. It was your imagination basically is your biggest I don't want to say enemy, but you're suffering because of your imagination, right?
Yeah.
So
can I say the quote?
Yeah, go ahead.
You suffer more in imagination than you do in reality.
Yeah.
Oh, it's such a good one. Oh my gosh. It just kind of puts you in your place and you're like, yeah.
So if you have the energy to do that in that direction, how, just try to be more in the moment of things, right? And get out of that vibe. So you have the energy to think about that every step that you're taking or every movement that you're doing or anything of that sort. If you have that freaking energy to go into this whatever imagination of yours, and so anyways, that's how I kind of put it together on that part, but it's getting back into that moment. So
but it's also like when something like, because you're a lot more present and stuff, like this is just like something that I feel like everybody, like it happens to everybody, is that not everybody, people with anxiety, I guess. But if you have, anxiety and you do know it, but then you still kind of like, you just subconsciously every morning you go and like grab a cup of coffee and you continue on with your day type of thing. And then you just keep on having those cups of coffees like throughout the day, because it says the subconscious accent will be more present in the moment and say that you're trying to relieve yourself of more anxiety. Maybe in that moment, because you're so much more conscious and you're on that mindset of being a better person and everything like that, and getting rid of anxiety in your life, because you can't control that. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. And maybe that comes to you deciding, being so conscious in that moment that you decide not to take that first cup of coffee in the morning. Mm-hmm. And by doing that, you relieve yourself of anxiety. And like your whole day is on a different projection because of that. Yeah. Because you took that first intention to release that anxiety in your life, but also being conscious in your actions. Mm-hmm. That is a very powerful move.
It is, yeah. I don't know how many times where, like, I'm not even a coffee drinker, but because my partner, he drinks coffee, and when he goes to it, and I'm like, oh, I go to it, but then I make it, and I'm like, I don't even want it. Like, why am I doing this type thing? It doesn't even make sense to me. But again, it's like what you said. It's just unintentional actions, I guess.
Exactly. Yeah, you're just going with the flow, and you're just doing it. Yeah. But there's a way to be. Yeah.
It doesn't work.
No.
In the end, it really doesn't work. So then in my mind, I'm like, shoot, like I just wasted this coffee. Why did I make it? And then you go on other tangents. It gets worse and worse.
I know.
But but at least the first point is to realize what you're doing. But
that moment when like you practice on being conscious and like being conscious like what your actions do and stuff like that, you'll come to like a point where like, oh, and this is like such a good feeling when you catch yourself in the act of it, or doing like just a very subconscious action that is not necessarily bettering you, and then you just like you can change it in that moment. That is such a good feeling.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, definitely a satisfaction of what is it, the frontal lobe, the good vibes. I forgot.
I don't even know what the frontal lobe is called, like the actual name for the frontal lobe, like the science.
The
name?
Chemical that makes you happy there.
Not Seneca. What am I?
Because I'm thinking of about the stressful one there, but it's not the stressful. It's not cortisol. It's
serotonin.
Serotonin. That's it. Yeah. Serotonin. Yeah. It's that fun vibe that's happening in the front there. It's pretty cool for that.
Yeah.
You're being satisfied at the moment. Yeah, definitely. So I know that we're kind of backtracking a little bit here, but when I was talking about the values and things like that too, the one thing I forgot to mention is, you have your values now type thing, but when you are going along the journey and stuff like that, it doesn't mean that those values don't change, and be open to that and accept that, right? Because sometimes we think that this is what it is that we value, and then when we hit that road and kind of does like a bit of a fork, I guess you can say, and then other things kind of come up, that's how you get to learn about yourself. And that's, I think, part of the Stoicism is wisdom, right? It's always growing, and don't feel like you have to be with the blinders, these are my values and this is it, and this is the way I'm going, and I don't care what anybody else thinks. That's not the whole point. The whole point is like listening to what others are mentioning and stuff like that, and then kind of reevaluating with your own values and whatnot. So,
and like that's the thing too, is that when you're first like learning about your values too, and kind of figuring out what they are and stuff like that, and doing a lot of like soul searching to it. If you come to a value where you're like, oh, maybe that's not a great value to have, you know, don't come to an opposition with it, because, you know, some people's like, we'll get to a point where you'll realize that I didn't realize I valued that so much. And it may be disappointing to you, or you may feel bad, but try to, you know, you can go through the emotions and everything like that. But don't hesitate to be confrontational with yourself if that's a value. And if you don't like it, that's okay. You know, you can learn to change it. You can understand why was that a value with yourself? What would be a value that you'd like to have more of? And stuff like that. Like one value I could say is that, like, you know, because like you're a mom or something like that, you could be like, you're a really big value in your life with your children, and looking out for your children, protecting your children. Where for me, I have parents, I have siblings, but, you know, family wise, it's just me. So my values could be very much more self-centered in the fact that I value myself more. But that's not necessarily a bad thing, because I'm in my early 20s, and this is the time where you're supposed to be selfish in your life. And if I want to value myself more, I feel completely okay to do that. You know what I mean? Because that's what I need. And as I shift in life, obviously that's going to change. Obviously I'm going to bring other people into those values and stuff like that. And obviously that's not my only value, is that, like, I value myself more, so I'm going to budge the line in front of people, because I do see a value of mine is to be a good person, to have good manners, to be a good, you know, to represent myself in the public as a good person, you know what I mean? Because I feel like that goes a long way. So yeah, so look at your values, because as you group them all together, you're going to really understand who you are more as a person. And that is something that's very huge, because, like, you just, you know, not necessarily figured out who you are, but you became more of a friend with yourself, you know?
Definitely.
And that's the really good thing.
Yeah, actually, going back to what you call selfishness or whatnot, it's not selfish at all. We have this ideology that thinking about ourselves first is supposed to be a selfish thing. That's something that society kind of brought in, or man has decided to say. Yes, there is selfishness. What I mean is, like, it's me, myself, and I, and, you know, everybody else, like, stay out of the way. I'm not talking about that type of, but thinking about yourself first. I mean, you can't help anybody else until you're able to be functional yourself, right? Yeah. So even as a mom, you know, before, when I was younger, when they were younger too, I had that ideology that they come first, right? And I'm last. So actually it was even worse than that. First was my ex at the time, then my kids, and then it was me, right? Like everybody was in front of me type thing. So, and that's not any better. If anything, that's it's almost like 10 times worse, because you just don't take care of yourself. You don't take care of yourself, you don't feel valued, and yeah, it's just not a good place to be type thing. So I would say, even as a mom type thing, always take care of yourself first. Ask, you know, help from that was my biggest issue, is asking help from others. Yeah. My friends or my family, unfortunately, they're all in Montreal, so I didn't really have any family out here, but yeah, I never really asked for help from my friends and whatnot. So when did you start to, like, kind of change that thinking in your head? Like, when did you become conscious of it and then started to kind of twist it around? When I started, I was just so exhausted that I had, like, nothing left for almost anybody. When was that? I guess it's only been a few years ago, honestly. So maybe, really? yeah, because before that it was all about everyone else type thing, right? I came in kind of last type thing, so maybe 4 or maybe 5 at the most years ago type thing. That's when I started really realizing that this method that I was doing was not obviously working out. And it's really hard, because you're trying to get out of that thought process of selfishness, like, you know, like, stop, you know, they need you right now, or whatever is going on, and you're thinking that taking care of yourself is quite selfish, or spending that extra, $50 on yourself to go get a freaking facial or go whatever, is a really selfish thing. And but that's also a mentality, right? From just from family and from. I came from a different culture too, so
that's true. Yeah,
there's so many different factors on that side. And I'm not here to say I'm blaming the culture or my family or anything of the sort. It's just the way it was, type thing.
Yeah.
But I guess I decided, and I really, really couldn't do it anymore. Obviously, a year and a bit ago, when I went through the divorce, because it was just too much, and I didn't want to completely destroy myself, because obviously, if I was going to get to that point, I wasn't even going to be able to take care of my kids or anybody else I loved around me. So that was a huge turning point for myself, type thing.
Wow.
So it's been about at least 5 years in the making, and then finally I stopped doing the procrastination of should I, shouldn't I, and all that type of stuff, and finally got out of it. So
that's so good.
Yeah. I mean, it is now for sure.
I bet the process was hard on your mind. Oh.
Hard on the mind, hard on the emotions. But the important thing too is that you're able to, luckily my kids were old enough that I was able to talk with them, because it wasn't just about me. Obviously, it was about the family, right? And it was listening to them and seeing how they were feeling, what they thought. That really helps them to see, the value in themselves too, right? Because it's not just a decision that I made and I'm grabbing the kids and then that's it, type thing, without asking them, without knowing what's going on with them. So it's good for everybody in the end, actually. So communication is really key. Knowing your values. And again, values will always change, because obviously my values from 5 years ago are not the same thing as what it is now. Nope, because of all the changes. And also,
but it's cool that your life changed because your values changed, though. You know what I mean? You were able to consciously, see them for what it was, and to gradually come to the understanding that there needed to be a change, and then changing it. So it didn't happen in one night.
No, not at all. And there was a lot of writing down, journaling, or because we forget a lot, right? We
remember to remember.
Remember to remember. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, we just forget so much, and even from what happened 5 years ago, if I hadn't written it down, a lot of stuff I wouldn't have remembered.
Yeah.
And I was really happy, because I was seeing a psychologist at that point. And that's what she was telling me. She goes, write stuff down, because this will help you really. And even in the universal energy in my courses and stuff like that, they always said the same thing too. Always journal things down, because we just have a knack of forgetting. And that's the reason why we always kind of go back in that same freaking loop over and over again. Is we just forget, or we choose to ignore. One of the two.
Yeah.
So that's the other thing. I couldn't ignore it anymore. I couldn't even stand being in my own skin. I think that's what it was.
Yeah.
I would wake up and I didn't want to be inside of me. That's how intense it got. I just wanted to run away. I just wanted to drop everything and just run away. But run away from myself. First and foremost, I think. It wasn't the fact of running away from my children or even running away from my ex and stuff. It was just, I couldn't stand myself anymore.
Just a skeleton wandering off in the night.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah.
Wow.
So I guess that maybe was my biggest turning point. And then I finally made the decision, to move on, to go about. So.
Wow.
So yeah, and going back again to what we were talking about with the imagination.
Yeah.
That and it still happens even sometimes now, even last week, same thing. I was still going through anxiety, as you know, I was going through a bit of anxiety, a lot of anxiety. And it's just that freaking imagination thing going on, and then it's okay, you know what, stop. You gotta tell yourself to stop and just go back again. What is it that you want? Where do you want to go? And just focus on that, and it'll plop you out of it, type thing. So
yeah.
But sometimes it takes me a little longer to realize. It takes less and less now comparing to before. But yeah, anyways, that's my 2 cents in Stoicism that I don't even, I haven't even read the book yet, but once I do, probably by next week anyways, I'll be done with the book, and I'll just put my 2 cents in there before we go to the next subject. Because the other 2 subjects is for the next 2 weeks anyways is going to be a little bit, it'll be interesting because it's the continuation of what we're talking about. In essence, that next step is like detachment of certain things.
Mm-hmm.
Detachment to the point, which the week after it's going to be about death. So
just to scare you all, I'm kidding.
Not that type of death, but yeah. But yeah, so it's really interesting how it's going along that way. But
yeah, which I'm glad that we're starting with this first too, really before the detachment, stuff like that, understanding ourselves too. The separate, like the thing that you're talking to more about, like you suffer more in imagination than you do in reality.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like it's such a good line because, like, first of all, anxiety is such imagination. It's like going before and making up these stories in our head. But sometimes, like, and I was like guilty of this like too when I was like a lot younger and everything. But how you have like emotions that you just get like attuned for, like it's kind of like you're seeking it out, like you kind of have not an urge, like an addiction to it and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And it kind of comes from that because like your stress levels go up and stuff like that, and it's kind of like an addiction. So being stressed or anything like that, or something that causes that. So like sometimes in imagination we could be perfectly calm and stuff like that, but because we're imagining, we can gradually put our brain to think about scenarios that like spike us up, which is kind of bad because what you think about, you create. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Definitely.
And in a sense, like a lot of people daydream or let their imagination go as a form of manifestation, which is something that I do now that I learned. How powerful it is. But that's like a good thing for people to know, is to get their imagination kind of under control, and to realize, what are they constantly thinking about in their imagination, and how could that relate to maybe emotion that they're kind of addicted to in a sense. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because I would find that I'd be like driving on like a hot, like sunny day, listening to beautiful music, but I would be thinking about what would happen if I got in a car crash. And I'm just like, why am I putting myself in this intense anxiety mode? And then I had to bring myself back and be like, wait, I'm driving, I'm fine. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And like, I know I'm not the only person that does, like so many people I've talked about have done that, but when you're able to kind of understand and kind of get out of that, again, being conscious with yourself as well, but getting out of that circuit that you do, you're able to...
It's the addiction. It's an addiction that you kind of have. The same thing with myself, though, with same as you, I may be just washing dishes or whatever. There's nothing stressful about that. But then in your mind, you're just thinking of scenarios. And for myself, I think it's because I've been in such a fight or flight mode. I can probably say almost my whole life.
Yeah.
Because even as a kid, we were always like walking on eggshells type thing. And
you have to think about the worst thing that could happen. I know.
Yeah. And it didn't change, right, for me too, because I was going in that same circle. So living with somebody who's constantly on fight or flight mode, very intense and everything else. And so, yeah, it's definitely an addiction. And it's not something that, you can make it as long as you want, but it's not something that it'll be in a flash that you're going to completely change and everything's done and whatnot. So it takes a little bit of time to snap out of it.
I've even come to the point that, like, the fact that when I do my long imaginations, I don't think about that, and now I think about, like, the best possibility, and I always make sure to tell myself. But now that I've started to kind of flip that one, which has taken a lot of time, thinking I probably, like, became aware of that when I was probably, like, 17, and I'm 21 now, so it has a bit of a time. But now I've come to a point where you kind of become conscious of the little thoughts you have before something happens, like and I became very conscious of it through actually my nephew. He actually brought out like a lot of like you know, scaredness within me and everything, because he would go past the stairs and I was thinking in my mind, oh my gosh, he's falling down. You know what I mean? Like he's gonna fall down the stairs.
Yeah.
And just thinking about the worst thing that could happen in it, and I kind of realized, I was like, oh my god, this is my quick imagination. Instead of doing it in long spurts, I'm now noticing it in very short spurts.
Okay.
Of just a thought that just comes to me to then act on. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Out of a ton of possibilities. And he's 3 years old. If he falls down the stairs with a gate there, I'm gonna be very surprised. But like, still though. So, yeah, that's the thing which I started to do is like, instead of thinking like best possibility, because that doesn't really work with me, because I'm like, okay, best possibility is that he walks right back over here. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. Is what I've started to do is like, just like imagine like a thought bubble going out. And just imagine it just like covered in like white light, and then just like, you know what I mean, like it goes away. And I feel like by doing that, and when I started consciously doing that, it doesn't happen so much more. And I think because of him now, I've become more conscious of when it happens in those little spurts, but not with like my nephew or something like that. Mm-hmm. But just like the little worries I didn't need to have, like my brother going to go on a drive, and I'm like, he's gonna get in a car crash, and I'm just like, okay, wait, no, I don't need that, you know?
Exactly. Yeah,
it's a lot better. But
the more you do it, the less it'll come by within your mind afterwards too.
Right? Yeah, and that's what I've noticed. You know?
Yeah, definitely.
But it takes time. Yeah.
You're not pushing. You're just letting it pass by. Basically, that's what it is. Because you don't want to block it. Because the more you try to block it, the more it's gonna come along, right?
Yeah.
So you don't I don't want to say you want it to come along, but you want it to pass by and just let it go by. Basically, you don't attach yourself to that thought process, and then it'll just go.
Yeah. I like to do the thought bubble thing, because I find that if I do that, then like I don't get so because I'll attach myself to the anxiety part of it, and I'll leave it, but I'll just like continuously be in that very anxious state. And I feel like by doing that, it's just kind of like, okay, now it can go that way, you know?
Yeah, actually, that's one of the practices for the meditation that I like to tell people. It's super simple. It's like you have your eyes closed, you're in a movie theater, you have 3 screens in front of you, and within those 3 screens, you have all your thoughts going through it. But you're not in the thought process, you're watching it.
Yeah.
So you always have a little bit of that disconnection, and then other thoughts are going to come in, and you're just watching. That's all it is.
That's actually really smart to do it that way.
Yeah, and then after a while, you'll see that the thoughts are going to be less and less. Then you go maybe to 2 screens instead of 3, and then you just go to 1 screen, and then it goes dark, right? So it's kind of like when it goes dark, it's the fact that you're within yourself, and nothing is coming through anymore. But you're not forcing it, you're not stopping it, you're not doing anything. You're just watching. That's all it is. It's probably one of my favorite meditations, other than the Silva method, which is counting backwards and stuff like that, when you're focusing on one thing instead of the billions of things that kind of come through the mind.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's it. Yeah.
Right. This is my other thing, like obviously you can feel like spirits like around you and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So this is the one problem that I arrive when I meditate, is because I feel like it, like when you get into that zone, suddenly I can just like, which I mean, like I do open my eyes and it does go away, but I feel like I can feel it like behind me. You know what I mean? Like the spirits are walking back and forth around you and stuff like that. How do you just like let that go? Or do you not?
At this point, like at the beginning, when the practice that I had taught you with your eyes open, I think that's what it is. That's the reason. One of the main reasons why the eyes are open almost like throughout the whole time is it's to get that thought process out of your mind, if that kind of makes sense. So somebody who has all those feelings or anxiety or is not comfortable having their eyes closed because they don't know what's around them.
Yeah.
You know, so you have your eyes open, but you're still focusing on one thing and you're just meditating on that one thing. I find, I think that's maybe what eventually it just stopped. Like, honestly, it was just continuing that meditation with my eyes open, and then eventually it just stopped, and you're just so calm. Not at that moment, but after a while of practicing, you just become so calm that you really don't.
You don't even notice it. I guess I should.
It's you don't really. It's not even the fact that you don't notice. It's you just don't attach yourself to it. Again, that's all it is. It's you're just in the moment with yourself. That's it. That's all it is. You're not studying your surroundings. You're not trying to feel your surroundings. At that moment, that's not what the point. The point is to be within you, and just enjoying your own company type thing. Your own space. If the others want to go walk around you, whatever.
Fine.
Fine. That's why I remember a long time ago, even with my kids and stuff like that, they were really, really young. And I told them, because they would see me sitting there meditating, and you know how kids are, they come and they jump on you or whatever, right? So at one point I told them, I said, listen, when you see me in this position, I said, don't jump on me. I said, but just place your hand here and I'll know you're around me type thing. Yeah. And so, that's what they did. They just put their hand there and they were just waiting until I finished. And then I was with them, right? But I knew they were there, but I wasn't like, okay, what do they want? Do they need this? There was still that detachment, I guess you can say. But it went both ways, the security in both ways. They knew that I knew, and I knew that, that they were there. So we had an understanding on that part. I was just thinking about that because of, families and whatnot. It's hard when you have little kids and they just jump all over the place, obviously.
That's so cute, though. Yeah. They're just having their hand on you and they're just waiting for their mom. Oh my gosh.
Yeah, they were really cute. No, they were very respectful and stuff like that. Yeah, as long as you respect them, they'll respect you too, right? So it's just knowing how to communicate with them. But anyway, that came to mind. Sorry, I just thought I should share it. But yeah, I don't know. I guess after a while, it just you just stop caring what's happening around you. You're just sincerely within yourself. It's like the eye of the storm, right? You're just right in the middle. You're right there. It's just you, and that's it. Yeah, it's really cool. Wow. Yeah. Wow. Yeah. So it's the same thing like what we were talking about. I guess to finish off with everything. Again, journeying to your goals, right? Mm-hmm. It's staying as centered basically as you possibly can with yourself. Yeah. During like that whole journey. Of course we're gonna hit bumps and whatnot. But again, it's just staying in the middle of the storm as much as you possibly can. And enjoying that time though too. Yeah. Yeah, because that's the most important thing. It's really nice to focus on the goal. I guess the best example that I can really think of is in the Olympics. I remember because I was training at one point for like the school Olympics and stuff like that, and all you want is that gold medal, obviously, in the end. And then you work so hard for such a long time, and then you reach that point, and you're just at the podium for what? Not even 10 minutes, a couple pictures, and it's done. And that's it. But you've taken how much time before getting to that point? Years and years, practice and everything else. If you do it miserably, that really freaking sucks, right?
And well, actually, that's cool that you actually brought that up, because when I was actually in hockey, they had this thing in Calgary, and it was called like the Haley Wickenheiser like hockey fest type of thing, and like she went to the Olympics and everything. I remember she had like a sat down talk with like all the kids, and it was like something that like just like a speech, you know what I mean, on like how to play well and stuff like that. And she was talking about her time when she first went to the Olympics and everything, and they were against the US, and her whole team had worked so hard. They were so close to winning, and in like the final like little second there, the US beat them and they got gold. And in the dressing room, she was talking about how she was so devastated and how like I hurt so much and stuff like that. And like, the story may not be that precise because I was 12, But but she was talking about that, and she remembered her coach had told her, and had told the whole team, you know, like, basically, like, because they were just devastated in, like, the dressing room, like, completely devastated at the fact that they did not win gold, but they only won silver and stuff like that. And basically the coach had given them a speech in the fact that, like, do not do that, you know what I mean? Like, do not, like, be so sad when you worked that hard, and even though you didn't win, you still got silver, you still went to the Olympics. Seriously. Of course you didn't attain your goal, because sometimes we have to come with that realization that we probably will not attain our goal the first time, or even that one time and stuff like that, but we still have to be we have to honor ourselves in the fact that we put so much effort, and we enjoyed that journey and stuff like that. And what are we representing to that journey if we get to that goal and it's not there, you know what I mean? That's another thing, because some people do win their goals and stuff like that, and I think that some people, their goal doesn't always end up the way they want it to, and so then they just feel like they've just been, like they've been like grabbed from that ability, you know what I mean? Like that's been taken from them, type of thing. When in reality, it wasn't, you know?
Yeah, no, for sure.
Just an experience. So that's another thing. Be grateful for the journey, you know, whatever the outcome may be. And then that's another thing, is detaching ourselves from the goal too.
Yeah, it's being grateful, definitely one of those. Yeah, and detaching a bit from the goal. Like, it's not detaching. I think it's not trying to control it so much, I guess.
Yeah.
Doing what you need to do in order to get there, though at the same time, you know, things happen and whatnot. So it might change a little bit. Don't be like discouraged because of it, or there's so many factors. It's a heck of a journey. It's not a straight line, that's for sure.
It's definitely not a straight line. But you do have to be grateful for it and stuff.
Definitely. Yeah, it's always about learning anyway. So, and there's no failures.
That's the thing. Yeah.
Definitely no failures.
You still made it somewhere. You still did something.
Yeah, the only time that you fail is when you don't stand back up again, right? So you have to just keep on trying and keep on going. That's the way it is. Trying not to do it with any type of suffering, obviously. So that's that.
Oh my gosh, I feel like we talked so much about so much different things.
Definitely, yeah.
I hope you guys will get that in your brain. But moral. Let's go over here. Moral, I was just gonna say, moral of the story from everything. It's just maybe look at your virtues and take a look at Stoicism and see if that's something that can help you with, you know, living a better life and, you know, being a better person, I guess. A good person, a good life. That's how they put it.
Becoming wiser.
Yeah. And now, the deck. I like this one. This is the Kuan Yin. I'm actually gonna put that right there.
Yeah.
Alrighty.
It's Kuan Yin Oracle. It's from Alana Fairchild. It's really one of the nicest card decks, I find, anyways, that I own. It's this one here. It's really beautiful. Anyway. So we're gonna do a card for the week?
Yeah, I guess a card for a week.
Cool. Awesome.
Alrighty. Spirit, please protect this reading from bottom light. Please protect me and Jose and everyone here, and bring forth what the collective needs to know in the highest form. Thank you. Okay. What's going to be happening for the next week? What do we need to know? Whoops. Oh, she's so pretty. Whatever you're kind of like getting ready to open yourself up to during the week, whether it be opening up your mind to looking at something different, opening up your heart to somebody, opening up to anything that it may be, just be gentle with yourself and allow yourself to gradually go through that change. You don't have to completely change in one day or completely open up in a minute, but check in with yourself and to see how far you can go until maybe you need to take a break and then pick it up and stuff. This is called the Shining Lotus. And the reason why I say that's because she's very much like not guarding the lotus, but slowly letting it kind of bloom inside of her hand, which is amazing. And she's just being very gentle in that card. The reason why I say your heart is because there's a lot of green in here. The green represents your heart chakra there. Maybe this is a time to kind of get in tune more with your femininity and take care of yourself a little bit more this week.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Definitely, yeah.
Again, like get a facial or something like that.
Yeah.
I remember because you just said that.
Get a facial, yeah.
Because I think that after you may go through that, it may come to a time where you may have to go through some self-realization, maybe some inner thoughts, but kind of slowing down in life to kind of take a second to reflect on yourself and to reflect on that lotus that you just kind of grew and then you just expanded and opened up to. Because once you do, there's going to be a lot of time to reflect on yourself. That's going to happen. Because as you open up in this world, you open up to yourself. And that comes with a lot of having to understand yourself a little bit more. So taking the time to do that. And it's just kind of opening you up on a new journey if you do decide to do that. Coming from that reflection there. The threshold. Oh my gosh. She is so pretty.
Mm-hmm.
Right? So I think what's happening, take that time to reflect on yourself or to open up that lotus and stuff like that. And then afterwards, after that lotus has been opened and opened towards yourself as well, take that time to reflect on yourself and I feel like your needs and where you're ever at in your life. And I think from coming from that, you're going to be able to do more in your life because she's just like flying around, dispersing all these flowers everywhere. And it's like by doing that, she's opened up so much more and she's able to go on to another level. And I like it too because the last card is 3-9, which 9 is kind of like an ending to a new beginning. The 3 is all about kind of doing that work for ourselves. The middle one, it's 41, which is 4 and 1. 5, change. 4, your angels are around you, they are helping you. And then 1 is all about new beginnings. And the first card is 26, which I think I see 2 as a love number. 6, I actually don't even know what I think of 6. 2 I see as a love number. 6 I just see as like a better form of like 3, which is like doing that work but on like another level. I don't know, what does 6 even mean? I can't even remember.
It's a good question. Actually, I don't really remember either. 6 I think is like I know with the chariot, isn't it to do with
slow movement?
Change? No, it's the opposite actually. It's more like a quick it's moving forward, fairly quickly. The chariot is moving. It's with the horses, right?
Yeah.
So it's moving forward, isn't it? Number 6 is
it
chariot?
Yeah.
So yeah, it's like either family oriented. It's moving actually to your goal. Because I remember that there's a chariot, but behind the chariot is a castle. So it's like moving, getting out of your comfort zone. You're moving forward towards something new. So
that's crazy you say that because I always thought the chariot is moving slower because the horses at the front are always laying down. You know what I mean? The real like tarot, like the real picture of it.
Oh, okay. Maybe the ones that I'm thinking of is they're moving, like they're on the fast pace.
Right. Well, it just kind of like shows the difference in that.
Yeah, I know, yeah.
But yeah, that's kind of what I think is going to be really happening this week.
Yeah, it's like you're opening your heart, and then you're opening your mind because the second card is to the celestial mountain. So you're reflecting on yourself. You're reflecting within your mind. It's almost like connecting both of them together, and then you're kind of like flying high afterwards. It's just in a huge way. It's like rebalancing yourself a little bit this week, feeling a little bit less scattered, being a little bit more creative by opening up your heart and stuff like that too. So also maybe head into the mountains if you're anywhere near mountains. Go out into nature a little bit, and it always helps for the self-reflecting and just kind of regrounding yourself too at the same time. That's what I see out of all of them. Yeah. Once you start kind of working with your mind and your brain, I guess, or with your thought process and stuff like that, that's when the changes are going to be coming in. That's the reason why it calculates to number 5. 5 means change. Yeah. And with that change, again, at the end, when you calculate, it goes down to 11 or ones, I guess, and that's the new process, new beginnings and stuff like that for yourself. Yeah. Wow. Yeah. No, they're really beautiful, beautiful cards. I'll try. 1, yeah. 2, and 3. So these were the 3 that she got out. Really, really beautiful cards. Anyways,
I need to get me a deck like that. It's so cute.
Yeah. Cool.
Oh, also before we finish too, yes. I wanted to say one more thing as well.
Oh yes.
Yeah. Okay. Oh my gosh. So I am a Reiki practitioner, and I'm finally going to be doing Reiki at upstairs of the clinic that's going to be here in Cochrane. It's called the Head to Toe Osteo. I'm going to be starting there in February. So if any of you guys are in Cochrane or in the Neva area and are wanting to, try Reiki or get Reiki done, I'm just putting it out there so that more people can know that I'll be doing it there. So if you want to book anything or anything like that, obviously you can leave like a comment or something like that and I can get back to you. Or I think you can even do it through their website, which I think is just Head to Toe Osteo Cochrane. But yeah, I wanted to put that out there because I am so excited, to be doing this. It's going to be amazing.
That's awesome.
Right?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. Oh, did you want to mention for February 8th also, or?
No, I need to get back on Hannah on that.
Okay. All right. No problem. Yeah. We may have some news. It might come out for next week. Yes. So anyways, we'll wait on that part. But yes, for yeah. We'll do the Reiki. If you want afterwards, we can post up how they can reach you. Right?
Yeah.
So
yeah. I'll post that up there too.
Okay. All right. Yeah. Well, thank you again, guys, for hanging around and being with us. And like I said, next week on Monday, we'll be talking about detachments. Things that block you, things that have to do with your self-confidence and all of that too at the same time. It's kind of learning how to, again, work with your emotional body, that wonderful part of us. I'm kidding. yeah, and vulnerability and all that too. So anyhow, we'll come back on next Monday and talk about that. Hopefully you'll be here with us. And until then, have an awesome week. And we'll see you on Monday, guys.
Yeah. See ya.
See ya. Bye. Thanks.